see the circle in full fire, but the background is dark. That's the idea. That is that mystery of space that we spoke last night. Then you have the circle now, it's in full radiance. It's like the sun shining. And you have the personification of the Logos unveiling the universe with his compass. The compass is full of light. And you see that? Very incredible. And so much movement. The winds, the solar winds, Fohat we call it in Theosophy, is there. It's just incredible. So, do you see? Can you relate to that a little bit? So, yes, Maria.
What do you think is meant by the word principle, capitalized here? It's used all the time, and yet it seems it's difficult for me to grasp what it is, because it's not really an idea. It's something...
No, it's like a good idea, maybe. For me, like Blavatsky used the word principle too in the first fundamental proposition. There is one eternal principle. But for me, principle would be like that, exactly that, like that idea that is the foundation of all. And you said it's not like an idea, but behind that there is an idea. Of course, behind everything there is an idea. That's the image we have. But principle, we have, welcome to my brothers in the back. So principle for me is that where my foundation is, where I start looking into this is the highest thing that I can look into it. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, it mentioned Annie Besant's concept of the ruling principle.
Oh, the ruling principle, yes.
Right.
When she was asked, do we need to study all this secret doctrine stuff? And she said, well, to the point that you understand the ruling principle. So that's very cool too.
Right. So this is what my idea when I see these points. I mean, there are concepts and definitions and things that we need to mentally work out, but I think if we identify what Maria is talking about, this idea of a principle, the essence of the idea. I wish I could remember exactly where I saw that in Annie Besant's work, but she did mention the idea of when you're studying to find the ruling principle. And there are ruling principles in maybe more than one in each of these. And if we find them, then, that brings in that rootedness that you spoke of yesterday. Among these deep and varied concepts, there are essentials that, root us and also provide a basis for contemplation, meditation, and to provide that focus of the universal soul.
Right, the way his vision or his idea was to, and he expressed it in this way, the manifested universe is rooted in this ever unmanifest principle. It's this darkness, it's this mysterious space. There is something there beyond understanding, but that's where we start, something like that. Any volunteers? Pierre, how do you take the word principle? Yes, randomly, I pick up a person there.
Mr.
Happens to be one of my teachers.
A basis for thought and action.
A what?
A basis for thought and action.
Perfect, thank you. Good.
And keeping that the first, highest.
You see, it's good to have Pierre here. Thank you for coming. I feel more relaxed now. Okay, so thank you. So look how these wonderful two fellows, Robert Flatt, which Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine called him an adept, and of course William Blake, an incredible mystic, depicted this moment of the universe that we are into. The first moment in Robert Flatt is darkness. You see the square? That's in The Secret Doctrine. Darkness, and then the white circle, but he at point. It's just incredible. Study this, and I'm showing this to inspire you to look in great masters and great mystics and great Rosicrucians of the ancient and alchemists to feed your soul with this beauty, right? These ideas, these principles, and see the elements in them of what we're studying. This main idea, more or less, Maria. We go in that way. We can get. He uses the word principle all the time, all the time. So we cover this, and the reason why we're studying this is because this universe, in the secret doctrine, it takes us to the point of explaining that this white circle, now with a point in its center, becomes a universal soul, is the plane where all the manifestations begins and ends, and is the one life, eternal and periodical. Remember, everything in nature is eternal and periodical, everything. You, me, the universe, everything. Why? Our monadic essence is eternal, yet we're periodical. When you see Martin today, in few years, Martin is not here yet, I'm periodical, and there is an eternal aspect of it. Everything in the universe is eternal and periodical. So you're going to see these words in the last line, yet periodical, everywhere. The important things of this white circle, and remember, I removed the point. This is already a manifested universe. It's the third, is Blavatsky explaining this. As universal soul, this is where our soul is a spark of that. That's what in the secret doctrine is the third fundamental proposition. In the Voice of the Silence, it's called alaya. I hope I'm pronouncing it in Sanskrit. Maybe it's not alaya, maybe it's alaya, something like that, right? Yet, in the Voice of the Silence, please get the Voice of the Silence and study it really well, and focus on the idea that alaya is the great soul, it's a universal soul, is who we are. Among the things that she said, and we read that yesterday, is on 221, of teachers there are many. The master soul is one, alaya, it's the universal soul. That's the white disc, right? Live in that master as its ray lives in you. The master soul is alaya. At the end of that line, in that line it says the master soul is alaya, the universal soul, or Atman. Now she's using Sanskrit. In theosophy is Atma, here is Atman. Each man having a ray of it in him, and being supposed to be able to identify himself with and to merge himself into it. Merge himself. That's where we're going. There is a magnetical pull to alaya. Why? We are a spark of that, or our higher principles. Our monad is made of an aspect of alaya, or spark of alaya, etc. There's many ways to describe this beautiful relationship between our monadic essence and the universal soul. And merging with it, that is the key here. The Voice of the Silence is for those few mystics, dedicated to those few mystics that can understand this and dedicate their life and energy to merge with it. And it's through what she said, through understanding the nature of dharana, concentration. You concentrate in the idea, you contemplate the idea, and then you are one with it. Once you are one with it, this is done. You merge with it, yes.
So you would say that maybe that in this first point, that alaya, the universal soul, is sort of this first principle, or the ruling idea, yes. Or maybe what you just said, like the real basis is each having a ray of it in oneself.
Right.
That rootedness you talked about last night. That's the fundamental,
Yes.
the first fundamental thing to grasp,
Yes.
the basis of our
Yes.
spiritual existence, and that we all share this.
And I like that. And like you said, this is one of those principles, right? Of course, the ultimate principle is the ultimate principle.
Right.
So we started with that. But we cannot fool ourselves saying, oh, yes, I'm one with the ultimate principle, when I don't even know how to concentrate, in the basic element here, the master soul, alaya. So this is why Krishna said, Parabrahman, Brahman is very difficult. Yeah, just meditate on me. Jesus says to go there, go through me. It's easier, the third level, which alaya, the soul, than the highest, right? This is our goal. Merge with it. Look at that word, merge with it. Look in your soul and think, what does it mean, merge with it? You are uncovering the greatest mystery of all, who you are. And this is what Taimni wants, self-discovery. Self-discovery. As we study this, self-discovery. And so on. This we covered last night. More in this point one, the manifested universe is rooted, remember, in an eternal. Just think about every idea. Eternal, boundless, immutable, ever manifest principle. And these are words that are powerful. Look for them. What does it mean? And look for them within you. And then, which we call, she gave it a name. Remember, one of the ways that I studied, I like to share how I study, is the Platonic way. You study an idea, any of these ideas, and you look for all the names, all the descriptions, all the functions. It's pieces of the puzzle. You make your puzzle, and if they don't fit, something is wrong. The description is wrong, what you study is wrong, your interpretation is wrong. Don't force it, because you don't have beauty. And beauty captures your soul. When it fits perfectly, don't you feel great, when you have a puzzle and you have a piece and it fits perfect? You feel, wow, I accomplished something. Same here. If it doesn't fit and it's confusing you, then go back to the board and understand it better. Add more to it. This is what Plato said. Parmenides, letter number 7. You can't sleep well at night without knowing these things. Plato, I mean. You've got to have Parmenides and his letter number 7. This is how he studied. Plato himself, right? So it's very impressive. And then contemplate when you gather all the parts, you have the puzzle, you have the whole, you meditate on that, you have the one idea. That's the idea. So again, in the secret doctrine, and remember, I'm comparing him or expanding or looking for his ideas, how is it expressed in the secret doctrine. And she expressed that principle with the word bines. And then she said, is symbolized in the secret doctrine under 2 aspects. On the one hand, absolute abstract space, absolute abstract motion. I like to look at the William Blake, and I see this darkness, this space manifested in the circle too. And in the third logos, he's the demiurgos, the architect of the universe, measuring where everything is going to be, and where every circle, ring past knot is going to be. Remember, Mihaela, we were looking at those circles in the secret temple of the Dalai Lama, and the colors. And, well, this is what he's doing in this very moment, setting up that, right? So this darkness, that space, the motion that we see here, give us the ideas to meditate on it and look into that. So the point here that I'm trying to make is that there is a way to study this eternal, boundless, immutable, ever manifest principle. And she started by saying, use the word bines, symbolized under 2 aspects. space and motion in their absolute abstract condition. Space and motion. We saw that in William Blake, how beautiful it is. Space and motion. Everything space and motion. But there is one thing missing there, isn't it? Like time? Missing space, motion, time, because motion is time and space, right? That's the equation in physics. So she added that later. So in page 15, you have those two. In page 43, she said, we're going to add to this abstract space and duration are the other two. Motion, space, and duration. The most beautiful thing happens a few years later when Einstein tied them all. And it's so easy to get his theories and his equations and of relativity and study them, right? We all do at home, right? What else we're going to do? You studied Einstein's theory of relativity to understand the physical equation. Remember, an equation is a way that scientists observe these ideas. All the relations are there, and they see them. It's a mystical moment for a scientist to look at an equation and say, I see the relationships. This is the mystic aspect of scientists. Very impressive. I'm not a scientist, I'm an engineer, but I can relate to that a little bit. So when you think about this first idea, you can break it down that there is a space and there is a duration. Duration is time, what is it? Timeless?
Yeah, timeless.
Timeless duration. Time doesn't exist. It's duration, eternal, right? And there is motion in it, but in the abstract sense. Later on in page 18, or earlier on, see if we're looking at 43, she also said, in its absoluteness, this one principle has two aspects, Parabrahman and Mula Prakriti, where she refers to the Indian philosophy. But she said, remember, the one principle is eternal, yet in its periodical manvantaric emanation, primal radiation is one. So even though you see it as two, Parabrahman and Mula Prakriti, there's still one. She's trying to tell you that, well, there is some oneness in this eternal, but there is a periodical manifestation in stars in two. Something like that. It's very interesting. In general, this one eternal principle, beingness, and once you add beingness, absoluteness, darkness, you are in the world of ideas. This is Plato 101. Which means that if you have an eternal principle, you can think about it. You can't. She asked us, don't think about it. You cannot put it in words. Dark space, can you? What is dark space? Oh, it's dark space. But because it manifests and rest is periodical in nature. During rest, just think about this. During rest, everything that manifests appears to be in a state of absoluteness. Follow me? No. Absolute is that eternal principle that you can even describe because it's beyond our possibilities. But during rest, what is in its periodical nature that appears and disappears, during rest is in a state that appears to be like the absolute. She calls that absoluteness. Unfortunately, in Spanish, most of the time the translator use the same word, absolute. So you miss the idea of absoluteness. So in the stanza 1, when she speaks, Blavatsky describes the universe. In Pralaya, the words is the one all during Pralaya, a state of absoluteness. You see? So the universe appears to be like the absolute at rest. It's dark. There is no light because there's no one looking. There is nothing active. So this is why here you have Pralaya, the state of absoluteness. It appears to be like the absolute. It's just a beautiful concept. Remember, contemplate those two. It's the absolute and the absoluteness. So anything with this ness is the nature of the one principle at rest, and they appear. So the circle becomes a dark circle, becomes a dark circle, and so on. It's just impressive. So how does the secret doctrine relate to this one principle? And I'm devoted a lot of time to this one principle because it's the basis of all. And it reflects on the white circle as a symbol, and that's who we are. We came from it, and from there we go, mystically speaking. Therefore, we really need to please concentrate on these ideas. And if they are for the first time you hear them, if they are a little confusing, good, because this is what you need to do. Remember, this is life. This is our work. Don't you think you're going to graduate here? I'm just pointing a few ideas that I barely understand, right? So please, this is theosophy. It's a lifetime of work. Nothing is easy. Nothing is a capsule. So she describes this one principle, and she calls it Biness. Look, with it, ness. There is a dash in between them all the time because it's the idea of be. It's not be, it's the idea. Absoluteness is the idea, the quality, the condition of the absolute. And then these are the pages where she described them as duration, space, motion, or the great breath, parabrahman and mula prakriti, or precosmic ideation and precosmic substance. This is what the scientists cannot see, right? This double broken line in red, this is where from below that is what the scientists can see after the Big Bang. And in theosophy, we got a description of what is it before that in the state of pralaya. As the universe appears and disappears, manifests and rests, the ideas above are the ones that we can relate to. Any thoughts, any question on this? This is so heavy. This is so difficult. That's probably why, during the meetings of the Blavatsky Lodge, even towards the end, his disciples, these are the group of students that Blavatsky had, were still asking, and is Parabrahman the first logos? No. I mean, they're still asking this question. They couldn't get it. I don't get it. It's so difficult. Get it means that you're one with it, in full contemplation. And then it speaks to you as full light. So, any thoughts? Any comments? These are the things to meditate. This is the great challenge. Once you say, I want to know more, well, this is it. It's very interesting. Below the double line, the broken line, is Manvantara. Remember, the universe is eternal, and yet is in a state of rest, pralaya, Sanskrit, right? And in a state of Manvantara, manifested, it emanated, and so on. There we're going to find times and cycles. We have the fabric of the universe. We have light and life, and they are related to duration, space, and motion. We have spirit and matter, or consciousness, and so on. I don't like to use the word consciousness. Why? Plato didn't use it. It's so easy, right? Plato uses mind, and that's enough for me. Mind and awareness. So that's my vocabulary. But if you like consciousness, there's plenty of that in theosophy, of using that word. I like the state of mind. So spirit and matter, and then cosmic ideation and cosmic substance. At this point, you can see why it's written in the secret doctrine, the manifested universe, therefore, is pervaded by duality. And that's why here we have on the point number 2, consciousness and power, spirit or matter, are two independent from the one universe, root of this unmanifest principle. Now we have this duality, two polar aspects of the manifestation. Therefore, in point number 2, which is what I just read, he concluded saying, yes.
Yes, can somebody share any idea about duration, timeless duration, please? Or you, of course.
Francisco, do you mind to start again? I couldn't hear the first words.
Do you have an idea about duration, timeless duration? You or somebody can share? Thank you.
Idea of what?
Timeless duration.
Timeless duration. Pablo, would you, because he wrote a book about it, and I was impressed with putting those two ideas together. What was in your mind when you spoke about timeless duration?
Because Blavatsky said that they have a name for that state from which time comes, which she says, I don't know how to translate it, and she chose the word duration. But that's not a great word, because duration seems something that endures throughout time. But what she says is that duration is beyond time. Time begins with Manvantara and ends at the end of the Manvantara. And then what is left is this timeless duration. So that's why I normally add the timeless. So we could say duration is like the absolute abstract time.
Correct.
Just as absolute abstract space and absolute abstract motion.
Okay, so it's the same idea, right, of absolute abstract, right? Just he's adding to Blavatsky duration. Is that okay, Fran? Just say yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, yes.
I have a question. I wonder if this timeless duration, and you're talking about the rest. You know,
Okay, we're going to see that in one more slide. We're going to see the direction of time. Yes.
My question was, Taimni talks about a way of looking at this. We see the phenomena as continuity, but actually is a discontinuity. There are like breaks in between, and the mind sees everything as a continuum, and that's why we're grasping on the phenomena.
Right.
And I wonder if this, and it's also about time and phenomena, both, that we see and feel the time is continuous, but actually it's discontinuous. She talks about that in.
Yes, she does. So what she's telling us, Blavatsky, is when we look at this mystery, we can look at it from these three aspects: absolute, abstract, time, space, and motion. So you have to add space and motion to time to see the whole idea. These are three parts of that idea. You see that? If you only stay with time, where is space, where is motion? So when you see only space, where is time, where is motion, and so on. So she's saying that to see the whole idea of beingness, of this first principle, you can see it under these three aspects, or you can see it under what in India called Parabrahman and Mula Prakriti, or in the Platonic philosophy, cosmic ideation, divine substance. Right? So you need to have both, not just one.
Taimni, he talks about that in the Science of Yoga.
Yeah.
And he goes to length about how deceptive this illusion is, and that we feel that everything is continuous.
Right. Now, is that applies to you? In other words, his own vision, his own description applies to you, because this is his way, and you now need to see if that speaks to your soul, and if you can relate to those words as the explanation. That's why we have innumerable schools of philosophy and psychology and sciences and ideas, because not one definition or way satisfies everybody. Otherwise, we will all be Christians, or we will all be Freudians, or we will all be whatever, Jungians. We're not. So what does it talk to you? So when you study something, is it talking to my soul? Do I see it? If it does, perfect. If it doesn't, then find what it doesn't and add to it. Add your own life. Yes.
I personally love the term duration. I think she made a good choice because, and it's not to contradict, it's just what reflects on, in my mind when I hear duration. Because duration, the idea of endurance, to me, it reflects this idea of being or beingness. Again, going back to that rootedness. And as Mihaila was talking about Taimni, bringing this up in the yoga system, these ideas are not, just only in theosophy, also in the Zen, tradition. A recent master, Katagiri, who established the California Zen Center, he went back to the 13th century master Dogen, who spoke of a concept, that Katagiri expressed it as being time. This idea of time and duration is not external to us. It's part of our very nature and part of creation. And the point being what Michelle's bringing up, this idea that if we can step into these concepts and mystic understanding, that it will release us from this grasping, the concept of everything, the thingness of everything, the false perception of permanence, which was kind of germane to being. We have to root ourselves in existence where things come and go, and we relate to a kind of solidity, but we cling to that idea too much. And that freedom, is inherent in this realization. And again, it comes back to this whole idea of the points, bringing out the basic ideas, contemplating those ideas. Correct. To give us a basis.
Correct. So that's another vision, which
that's what I meant about crystallization and objectifying the phenomena. We're grasping something solid and we make it solid.
Correct. Yeah. And then the other side of the coin is at rest. Time was not. And what does it mean? Time was not. But behind the time was not, and time is timeless. Timeless duration. So that's from his book, Approach to the Secret Doctrine. It's a good idea to look at it, right? If the word duration doesn't speak to your soul, timeless or absolute abstract time will do. Maybe it will do. So the ideas that we find in this point number 2 is again consciousness and power, spirit and matter. Remember that yesterday when we spoke, when we saw how the secret doctrine explained the appearance manifested universe, the appearance of the universe, in stanza 6, we saw that by the power of Kuan Yin, the mother of the Shakti, the mother of knowledge and mercy and knowledge. So that's the power of the Shakti of matter, right? And of course, spirit and consciousness go hand by hand, right? So that's the male logos, female logos, Kuan Yin, Kuan Sha Yin, in that stance. They are not two independent realities. Remember, there is only one reality. Always think about one reality, but two polar aspects of the absolute. He didn't explain in these points how the two polar aspects are united, but that's in the secret doctrine and is Fohat, the bridge between the two. Remember that? Fohat. You all know that? I know. You were born knowing that. No, but study that, the idea of Fohat. We're going to talk more about that. But if you have a magnet with two poles, there is something there that magical, right? That is bonding the two sides, and you cut them in half, you have two, that same two. You take two magnets and you approach them, now you have one magnet. It's just magical, and it's a great analogy to this. And they are the basis of manifestation, and there is an analogy. Our consciousness is to power, our spirit is to matter, and he saw this as a triad, Remember to learn how to count in odd. Monad, duad, triad, tetrad. You are in the world of Plato, right? Pythagorean world of ideas, please. So, in The Secret of Self-Realization, do you mind to read this, Susan? Aloud? Can you read? Yes? Aloud? Very loud.
But consciousness and power are correlatives and cannot be separated. So when knowledge is limited in this manner, power must be correspondingly limited at the same time. Not only is it limited, but its exercise is vitiated by the force of illusions in which the individual becomes involved.
Thank you. Do you see that? When our knowledge is limited, why? We haven't achieved that moment of prajna paramita in the voice of the silence, where this knowledge is divine, we're fully illuminated, full enlightened, and then with this knowledge, power is fully manifested. Our consciousness, our state of mind is fully merged to that oneness. And the power appears with the corresponding force. See that? But if our knowledge is limited, or even false knowledge, or the idea that we are contemplating is wrong, is less than the reality, is distorted idea, we have a bad teacher, we have a bad word, we have a bad image, we have a bad concept, our homework was not done, this knowledge about the idea is limited, and he is illuminating that. He's explaining, because this duality of consciousness and power are one. If you have bad knowledge, your awareness is limited, power is nothing. See that? So we need to find this, in this sense, these two to work with. Something like that, knowledge is power. That's, everybody knows that. But how to achieve that? It's a lot of work. Then the last two, please.
It is only when the spiritual nature of man becomes sufficiently unfolded that the divine power hidden within his heart begins to descend through the center of his consciousness in increasing degree, and he is able to dissipate gradually these distorting and obscuring agents which keep him involved in the illusions and attractions of the lower worlds. This power continues to grow stronger and stronger until all the illusions and attachments which imprison consciousness are burnt up and the deluded monad attains liberation through self-realization.
Isn't that beautiful? Taimni had a very, very, very real vision in this paragraph, in this idea about our evolution. See that? This power continues to grow stronger and stronger until all the illusions and attachments which trap our consciousness are burned up, and now the deluded monad, the monad is really not deluded, but this clouds, fog, dross that it surrounds the monad attains liberation through self-realization. So that's very beautifully said. This is why he wrote this. This is why we need to focus on these ideas. And now, the new word here is monad. We haven't spoke too much about monad. Just remember, monad is a very difficult theosophical term, Pythagorean term, and so on. The 2 in 1, the 3 in 1, the pilgrim. And remember what I said, do a homework on the idea of monad, because this is what we are, actually. This is the pilgrim, she calls it. And the impulse of the monad is where we bring this consciousness and knowledge and keeps us going. It's when we don't see it and we are close to this and the illusion that we are in chaos and so on takes us to a depression, and then we got drugs and alcohol on top of it, we're committing suicide. There is no light. There is no life. Be very, very careful. We have to maintain this ability to see the light, and that's the idea of self-realization. Something like that. Therefore, in point number 3, moving along, from this triad, which is the absolute consciousness and power or spirit and matter, from this triad proceeds all the numberless universes which appear and disappear in an endless cycle of manifestation and dissolution. So the main ideas, there is now a triad that is an idea. There is the idea of numberless universe, the idea of endless cycle. And here I have a cycle, beginningless and endless, and there is a line, pralaya and manvantara, rest and manifestation, numberless of universes. Now, if you look at this idea of cycles or periodical law that the universe is subject to, can you see duration? Can you see the abstract time, absolute abstract time? It's always going up and down. You see that? Pralaya, I mean, resting and manifesting, resting and manifesting, you know, without beginning, without end. Can you see the eternity in that? If you can see at the same time, you are in a great moment, philosophically speaking. You can see both at the same time. It's eternity and its periodicity, periodical aspect. You see that? Both at the same time. So I'm asking that another tool to use to study this is illustration. Illustrate, form an image, and see if the image speaks to you, right? Now, remember that in the beginning we started with a dark square with a circle. That's our cosmos in eternity. That's an endless number of numberless universes. And if that space is like the blackboard, remember the way that I see that is a blackboard with a circle, white circle in it. That's our cosmos. With the point is our universe. And are there more universes around it? Right? Are there more universes at the same time? Oh yeah, we have a taker. Yes, of course. Right, we have more universe, multi-universe. No, but numberless is this guy, right? That has no beginning, no end, and in every manifestation is a universe. Yes.
Illustration and sound too, as well as music.
Did you get the idea? No.
That along with the illustration, sound, and music is also helpful.
Oh yes, that's my voice. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you. Yes, all that. Yeah, right. Sounds and music is very. There is a voice there. There is a vibration, a sound in that universe, and soundless moment, right? Again, our task is to see this oneness, and be able to see its eternal aspect and its periodical nature. Eternal and periodical. Now, back to this. Are there many universes at the same time? And she had a vision. That's Michelle, just in case people want to put a name to the vision. Any other takers? Or is just one universe in this dark space? It seems to be a very, very big space. This is from the movie Contact. First fit and then. Yeah.
It depends on how you define universe.
Right.
Because HPV refers to that which is, there's only one universe.
Right.
But that's the whole.
Mm-hmm. The one all.
Have two alls. But in that universe, are multiple universes.
Within that,
See that
multiple
already?
planes,
Multiple
yeah, right, right,
coming and going,
Yeah.
while the universe is always there.
right. So again, this is what we study. Yes, Annie.
From an Ada,
Uh-huh.
from the one germ, the universe comes endless universes,
Yes.
I think.
Yes, yes, that's the line in the secret doctrine. And I think she's saying from the one germ, one universe, endlessly, right? No beginning, no end. Yet my mind struggles with that idea. I can memorize it, and I can say our universe has no beginning, no end. But my mind says, what are you saying, Martin? You are not able to understand that. You know what? Something has no beginning and no end, and endlessly, no creator. You know, my mom told me there's a creator out there, right? Pray to it. He wrote a book for us, and so I have to live with that. So in theosophy, we study that mystery is resolved by saying endless number of universe. Yes.
I think for me, the important thing about contemplating these ideas, and especially the absolute, the first principle, prepares the mind to be in the world right here and now. It really prepares us to see everything in the context of that one, so that it matters that there are many universes, solar systems, galaxies out there. But the important thing is to be able to see the universe here and now in every creature we meet. The mind is being primed to see into everything as a part of the universe. So this is something that's felt. It's not only thought about, but the thinking makes it possible. When the thinking is motivated by that very sense of the one itself. So I see all of this as just enormously wonderful in terms of living my day-to-day life and being connected with everything in it in a new way. And this is what the mind is being primed to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Elena.
The idea that works for me is that there is two realities.
Okay.
The absolute reality and this reality that we are living, that can be as many universes that work for us to meditate, to control our mind. But that doesn't mean there is real knowledge, because it's Maya.
Okay.
Is that what we fabricate around our ego to believe in something that is, in this case, working for us to control our mind, to get to that point, to me, that between the spaces that was talking Mihaela, there is that black space, that black hole that we can penetrate, where could be full of fear, because we don't know what is
The unknown.
is the unknown. That might be the absolute reality.
Right,
But in this way, in the relative reality,
right, relative.
anything can fix to me.
Well, thank you. In my own vocabulary, the only difference of what we're saying is I say there is one reality that is eternal and periodical. And in the periodicity, then I have all the vocabulary to describe the periodical aspect of that one reality. So I don't say there are two realities, but it's true. There's, for our mind, right, there is an illusion and there is that reality. But I like this vocabulary here. So again, numberless universes, and there are many, and that's a photo of the universe. There are beautiful ways that people illustrate that reality, or I'm sorry, this process of manifestation and dissolution. In general, I don't like the word dissolution. I like the word rest, because even though rest is in dissolution, you know, in my chemical studies, I dissolve things. So it's part of the process of already it's manifested and it's dissolving, but still is physical, and then rest. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if you saw it. So if you can incorporate in that dissolution the idea of rest, that's all cool. Okay, so I like to say manifestation and rest. So this takes us to the idea of this, everything is eternal and periodical. So in the secret doctrine, you're going to find the words like, or ideas as the eternity of the universe as a boundless plane. Once it says boundless plane, the disk is boundless. It takes the whole space, right? Boundless plane. And it's the playground of numberless universes manifesting and disappearing. But there is a pilgrim, an eternity of the pilgrim, because where are we in all this? And the word is monad. And monad is very important to this, to a theosophist. So in this page 16, it says, monad, the two-in-one during its cycle of incarnation, the only immortal and eternal principle in us, being indivisible part of the integral whole, the universal spirit. Remember, we have the first logos, the universal spirit, and the universal soul, right? These are like the three stages, from which it emanates and into which it is absorbed at the end of the cycle. We're talking about the monad. So stanza 3 in the secret doctrine starts by saying the monad emerges. Look at the word she used, Blavatsky. Emerges from the state of absorption in the germ, in the one. Emerges. You and me, the monad, so to speak, emerges from the state of absorption. Isn't that a great image? Oh, in the one. Like a pomegranate, that's what the Egyptians use, right? The pomegranate, you open the pomegranate, and there you are, Elena, you and me, next to each other, right? We're talking about these things forever. So the monad is not easy to understand. Please do what Plato said. Please gather all the ideas, all the descriptions, all the functions, and so on. For instance, another beautiful description about the monad is on page 177, and it reads, the spiritual monad is one, universal, boundless. Remember, once you say one, you got to add universal, boundless. Now she goes into Plato, impartite, which means has no parts, whose rays nevertheless form what we, listen to that, whose rays, so is radiant. The monad, the one monad, is radiant and form what we, in our ignorance, call the individual monads, in humans, in minerals, and so on. So gather all the ideas that you have about the monad, put them all together, and build that whole, right, puzzle. And if one doesn't fit, don't trash it. Because that's very easy, because you have a big hole, and you will not get full empowerment. Couple more minutes. And here, then, we move to our solar system, and that's in the next hour. The next 4 points, the main ideas now, you go from the one principle in all its aspects, eternal and periodical, right? To the universe that is rooted in that, to the solar system. That's the next stage. Look, galaxies are no talk. Galaxies were not included here. We know about galaxies, right? But the interesting is to have a galaxy, we need solar systems. So solar systems come before galaxies. Do you agree with me? Yes. Yes.
Actually, I was thinking that I read somewhere that HPV was referring to galaxies with the word universe.
It could be, yeah. Our solar
I was
universe.
trying to remember.
She used the word solar universe.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Solar universes, I think sometimes she says. Yeah, it's very cool. But remember, to have a galaxy, you have to have the solar systems. So in science, first comes the solar systems, and then galaxies. So the next 4 of the 15 are about the solar system, planets, the laws of nature. Susan, would you read these 4, and then we take a break.
The innumerable solar systems which form part of the manifested universe are expressions of this ultimate reality, each solar system forming an independent unit, and yet remaining rooted in the ever unmanifest reality. Every solar system is a perfectly ordered mechanism, which is not only governed by immutable laws of nature, but is the manifestation of a transcendent intelligence, which is called God or Logos. The physical sun and the planets connected with it are the outermost or densest part of the solar system, there being several invisible worlds composed of increasingly finer matter interpenetrating the visible world. The whole solar system with its planets, visible and invisible, is a vast theater of evolution, on which life in its various stages and innumerable forms is evolving to greater and greater perfection.
Thank you. So in the next hour, we're going to look at the next big idea in the universe, which is the solar system, which is also rooted in this reality. So it's eternal and at the same time cyclical. And all the way to a theater of evolution. And there we are, you and me, in this theater of evolution. Let's take a break. So we're back, and we're looking at points 4 to 7. And look at the vocabulary change. We're coming down, remember, Jacob's ladder. We started really high, and we're moving down, right? From the ever manifest principle, the absolute. Actually, I don't like to say absolute because immediately I form an object in my mind. The absolute. Let's count absolutes. How many absolutes are there? Right? I mean, it's just the absolute. It's something we cannot think about it. But now we are in the solar system. And what are the ideas that we see here? Please take a look for one moment. And remember, Taimni is giving us 15 points to find a way to understand ourselves, self-realization, self-education, to study theosophy. That's how I like to put it. And as we go down, we're going to find new ideas to explore, and this exploration is for lifetime. It's a lifetime exploration. In other words, when you find something that you really like, explore it. But I invite you to explore it like Plato said. Study it and educate your soul to understand your mind, to understand the meaning of life, the meaning of the universe. That's self-education. This is the purpose of studying. You educate your mind. Remember, the mind is radiant. And it has a flashlight, so it points up instead of just pointing down and saying, I am a chocolate eater. This is an illusion. That I am a chocolate eater. And that's my mind, state of mind, pointing that. And I love it, but I'm already salivating. Sorry. So again, the new ideas are solar systems, right? Which form part of the manifested universe. We already studied a little bit. This is just guidance, just some ideas, right? For you, if you vibrate with one of them, this is where you explore. So form part of the manifested universe. They are expressions of this ultimate reality. Each solar system forming an independent unit and yet remaining rooted. Look at that. It is an independent unit, but yet is rooted in reality. So even the solar system is eternal and cyclical, periodical, is the word she uses. You look in yourself, you have to see a monadic essence, so to speak, and you have to, right? That is eternal, manifesting periodically. I'm sorry, with a periodical nature that manifests and rests. We call it life and death, life and death, life and death. But it's really life and death, really is poorly said, because it's not life and death. Life is on the top of that. It's birth and death. You agree with me? Life, birth, death. Life, birth, death. That's our, isn't it better said? Life is, people say life and death, but no, life in singular is the Platonic idea, the essence of the one, right? Life and light, like Blavatsky said, the essence is life and light. Oh, that's great. Let me study that. So life is birth and death, birth and death. So we are alive, I hope, right? So to be alive, please nurture yourself with how Plato said, the idea of beauty. When you see beautiful things, they feed you, light, and that keeps you going. When you are depressed, there's no light coming in. You don't see beauty anywhere. This you see it consciously or unconsciously. All the time. You walk in nature. Be conscious of what you capture as beauty, because beautiful things are windows to this bridge to heaven. They nurture you. And without them, we fall in a deep darkness, depression, and that's it. Our manifestation actually ended. So that, on a better note, every solar system is a perfectly ordered mechanism. So the main idea here is we need to study now what is a solar system. And there are ideas, again, or description of the solar system, functions of the solar system that we need to incorporate on the idea of the solar system to make to complete the puzzle of what is the solar system. Remember, the solar system has a manifested aspect of it, which is the physical part, and it has a metaphysical part of that manifested universe, which we don't see. For instance, with our physical eyes, we don't see all the objects of the sky. Pulsars, we don't see pulsars. It's just a radio wave. And we need a radio telescopy and computers to see pulsars. It's blick, blick, blick. Yes. Yes.
From Francisco.
Yes.
Why doesn't she mention galaxies?
Okay.
And she put emphasis on the solar system.
Right. Remember two things. One is Pablo told us that probably the idea was there already because the idea of galaxies were there. But the vocabularies, the scientific vocabulary that we use now, galaxy, is something that everybody accepted as a system that is a galaxy, right? Hubble found them and others and took photograph of them and so on. So remember, like Blavatsky said, the vocabulary of science is something that is going to continue. They are our friends. We're going to incorporate in our theosophy and so on. But what's very important to us, to our evolution, is the eternal principle, the manifested universe, the solar system, as the star, and our little planet Earth. That's where he's going to concentrate. Blavatsky also spoke about black holes, but he didn't say black holes. So there's a mystery out there in space. If you are interested, I can look at the page number. There is a mystery there in space that we don't understand. That we don't see, and so on. She spoke about many things. These are visions of the depths right? But where is the vocabulary, the modern vocabulary, to describe it? There was no there. So she uses vocabulary related to the solar system from the alchemist. The vital liquor. What the heck is that? Where is the sun rays? The prana of the sun. So whatever. There's a vocabulary was not existent. Nowadays, because we study a little bit of science, all of us, we have a better vocabulary to describe the physical universe. So Francisco, the idea is there, but what's important to us in this very moment is to move in that ladder to get to what Maria said, the human being. Me are now. Who am I? What's my state of mind right now? And learn from it. So again, this absolute manifested universe, solar system, our little planet, you and me. And in there we're going to see what he says. Thank you. Very cool. Yet we know that the universe is much more than that, right? So galaxies are incredible. And cluster of galaxies are incredible. And clusters of galaxies are even more incredible. But yet, let's look at ourselves. Cool? Yeah? Yeah.
So it seems from the first three concepts, which are almost like the first three logoi, we're moving more into manifestation. And I see it as this, because I was trying to figure what might be the point in 4. Maybe it's this idea of, solar systems is expressing it, the idea of units.
Yes.
In universal terms, because later we're going to get into the human, the individual units, just as focal points for this of the universal.
Correct, and that's part of our study, right? What is a solar system, right? How is it presented? Yes, Annie.
Peggy says galaxies also called nebulae in the late 19th century.
Okay, thank you. Pablo, yes.
But there are many intermediary structures, as you say. We now know that our galaxy is part of a local group.
Yeah.
So I think Blavatsky went from the whole to what, as you say, what concerns us, that is our solar system. Otherwise, she has to mention all the degrees of groupings that exist. The galaxy is not the only one.
Which interests someone who studies cosmology, right? But you and me probably wants to know our relationship with Earth Day, right? Save the planet. Isn't it today or yesterday, the Earth Day, or tomorrow?
Today.
It's today? Oh, wow. Remember, we need to save the planet. It's the only planet that cocoa grows. I read that some time ago. And I said, yes, yes, it's true. It's true, isn't it? I mean, go to Mars and find cocoa leaves. Cacao, right? No coca leaf, cocoa. So, chocolate. So we got to save the planet, and that is the relationship we need to. So again, ideas, solar system, and we know innumerables. Now we know that, right? At that time, maybe, oh wow, so innumerable, really? Okay, but we have a manifested universe. We study that, the one all, right? The point in the circle, the germ in the egg, and so on, mundane egg. We have then the idea of rooted. We study that in the Bhagavad Gita. Susan, thank you. You read that, chapter 15, right? The first 4 slokas, or whatever it's called, is about the Ashwata tree, very beautifully expressed the universe. On number 5, now what new idea Taimni wants us to research, to study, to contemplate? So now the solar system is a perfectly ordered mechanism. Do we see it? We know a lot about the solar system nowadays, and it's a beautifully ordered mechanism. So if a planet is missing in some time, astronomer says, there must be a planet here. They go, they look, and it was there. So it's very interesting, which is not only governed by immutable laws of nature, but this is another idea, right? Order mechanism governed by immutable laws of nature, but is the manifestation of a transcendent intelligence, which is called God or Logos. So transcendent intelligence is the idea that he wants us to study, right? He gave names of God and Logos. We have many, many, many more names about that. In every tradition, you have a name for that. So again, to this transcendent intelligence, look for all the names, all the descriptions, all the functions. We have this beautiful William Blake, the Ancient of the Days, that we saw, right? That is it. It's the image. And I, at work, I put it on my desk, and HR came in and said, someone complained that you have a religious thing there. No religion here. And I had to take down my William Blake. You know, oh my God, I was crying. Yeah. So 6, the physical sun. Now, listen for ideas. This physical sun and planets connected with it. Connected with that, with what? Are you paying attention? No? You want me to tell you with what? Volunteer me? Yes? Okay. Connected with it are the outermost and densest part of the solar system. So the solar system as a system is made, as we know, of a sun, of a star, and planets, and a lot more stuff that we're not going to talk about it. It's the outermost and densest part of the solar system. You see that? This is the physical plane of nature, and we can relate to that because we are physical people too, right? We have a gross body, we have a subtle body, a causal body, and so on. That's another way to express those 3 bodies. And there being several invisible worlds composed of increasingly finer matter, interpenetrating the physical world. So beside this physical plane of nature, there are other planes. I like the way the Blavatsky explains that as 7 planes and the globes and the planetary chains. We're going to see a couple of those slides. And in number 7, the whole solar system with its planets, visible and invisible, is a vast theater of evolution. There we are, and all the kingdoms that are evolving are in there too, on which life in its various stages and innumerable forms is evolving to a greater and greater perfection. When we read 7, we need to have like a realization that is true. If we don't realize this as a truism, we have to go back and study this, because this is a truism. The whole solar system with its planets, visible and invisible, is a vast theater of evolution on which life in its various stages and innumerable forms is evolving to where? Greater and greater perfection. You've got to feel it. You've got to say, this is true. Wow, I'm there. Yes.
Does entropy have any part of that?
Totally. Yes. Yes. Because all the laws of nature are in there. And they're all helping us. And it's very intelligent. For instance, if I see you walking in the street this way, I don't see a bag of bones and flesh. I see an intelligent being. Do we see that when we see Mars? It's an intelligent being circling around the sun. We have a planet, beautiful planet. In fact, it has a beautiful, it's right here, right? Planet. You pointed to me the other day. Mars, whoa, you know, that is Mars. It's Jupiter, thank you. Forget Jupiter. Forget Mars, it's Jupiter. Jupiter, wow! Delete Mars, put Jupiter. This is a computer, right? And that's Jupiter. Do we see an intelligent being like I see you walking? Is people seeing an intelligent being when they see each other walking? No, you immediately label them. I like them, I don't like them. That's what you see. We're human. What state of mind you are when you're observing? So here's what we study ourselves. Always look at the state of mind. Always. Because this is what Socrates asked us. What Socrates says just before death? You remember? Yeah. An unexamined life is not worth living. So, yes.
So I wanted to ask a little bit more about entropy.
Yeah.
Would that be before the start of the manifestation, or what is it? It's
you want to go into the mystery of it.
Sure. Like,
yes.
does it kind of propel evolution on its own? Or
Okay, so let's go into it. First, I want to ask you that question. Number 7, do you see it? Do you see the solar system, the planets, which is the manifestation of a transcendent intelligence? Plato called it the Logos. In religion, we call it God, and things like that. Other names, Ammon. It's a beautiful name for that, Ammon-Ra, Again, do you see this as a truism? Yeah, just work with me. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Michaela, please. Thank you. Okay, we got it. So let's go a little bit to that. So the solar system in the secret doctrine, and I'm going to get exactly to that in 1 minute. The solar system is introduced in the secret doctrine on page 21 in the Throne, volume 1. When she describes the monad being one, which may apply equally to the vastest solar system, and by vastest it could also mean galaxies, maybe, because it's a bunch of solar system with nebulas and all kind of things in it. Or the tiniest atom. See that? Monad. So it's a wide range. Everything is alive. Do you see that? Everything is alive. To be alive, it has one condition, monad. Remember? That's the difference between an AI and us. Remember that. Remember what I said? The sci-fi story? It will be fed and will learn by itself. All the knowledge that is possible, and then there's a point that there is nothing more to learn. When we get to the point in the voice of the silence, we're in Prajna Paramita, when the AI, a robot, you see the robot is right there, not yet, but you can see the idea of the robot. And when it gets to it, and it doesn't have the possibility of moving on to nirvana to help people, like a bodhisattva, like an adept, like a Mahatma, like a saint, like Socrates, right? We have that possibility. The monadic plug itself. This is it. That's his nirvana. So don't worry about them. They're going to unplug all of them. Sci-fi movies. Because what are they going? They're going to unplug themselves. This is not a problem. But we are humans. Monadic impulse is going to keep us going and going and going like a good battery. Remember the ad in the paper? Ever ready? I think it's ever ready or Duracell. Going and going and going. And that's why we need to study this really well. To be alive, to be alive in this theater, monad. Monad is required. Monadic impulse, let's say. Monadic essence, better words. And applies to solar systems and to the tiniest atom. The process of formation of this universe is described in stanza 5. Remember, the point is that science cannot see because they don't want to describe before the Big Bang. They say, we don't know. We don't know. As a scientist, they cannot. There are no laws. There are no data. There are no observations before the Big Bang. They can speculate, but we have this divine wisdom that tells us that being the universe periodical, a universe that is manifested will enter a period of dissolution and rest and a new universe, higher and better than the existing one, that the other one will come into being. So this is the division between theosophy and science, that point, right? So what this is, well, first let's see what theosophy says. First, in stanza Alaya, the universe is at rest. Pre-cosmic matter rules, is right there. There are ever invisible robes, Swabhabad, Matripat, egg, eternal egg, the one element, the one life, it's all one. It's a state of oneness. It's a state of absoluteness. It's all there at rest, all of them. The of nature is a one law. The forces of nature is a one force. All the lights, the forms of light, is one light, and so on. Then comes the Big Bang. Now, the Big Bang is a beautiful name. It just makes me love that, a Big Bang. But a lot of scientists say it's not an explosion, but it's a very, very, very intense heated moment. Intense heated moment. It changes all of a sudden. Well, they don't have the eye of an adept to see, to contemplate that moment, right? Because to get to the manifested universe, a lot of things happen. But they understand that the one law, and this is how they express it, the one law, the one force in nature manifests slowly, and slowly is less than a second, into four forces. The known four forces: gravity, electromagnetism, and the weak force and the strong force. They just show up because of some period of rapid cold freezes right after that. And when that happens, gravity is our king or queen. And out of that world, of that fiery universe, in the secret doctrine, became what in stanza 5 is called diffused cosmic matter. And then the fiery whirlwind, or Fohat, which we studied yesterday, it forms the first stage in the formation of a nebula. The scientists that you have these forces of nature appearing one after the other. There are 4 of them in science nowadays. We know in theosophy there are 7. But we know that, but we don't have formulas for them, so we cannot apply them, so to speak, like they apply those formulas for the 4 cosmic ones. But when gravity shows up or unfolds out of the one force, this pre-cosmic matter starts pulling in. See the forces? You see? And as it pulls in, something incredible happens. What they don't know is cosmic. They don't know it's the first moment of the cosmic matter, and they have theories, right? And then as they've been pulled together, electrons and elementary particles, and then you have nucleus, and then you have hydrogen. Yes. Yes.
Now, since you are comparing with science, as you have there, Blavatsky, or the secret doctrine at least, describes all this process happening not through gravity, but through electromagnetism. And as you mentioned yesterday, Blavatsky said gravity is not really a force. So more and more scientists are beginning to recognize the role of electromagnetism in the formation of galaxies. It's just that it's too hard to measure electromagnetism out there.
Right.
But if Blavatsky is correct and science is moving in that direction, I think electromagnetism will replace gravity in the description of how the universe
It could be. That's a good vision. We know that these four forces are one in Pralaya, right? Forceness, the idea of the force. So we know they're all one. So, and that's what theosophy contributes to the vision of the scientist, to understand that they're all one. And they all know that because they're looking for that equation that binds them all, right? And this is the right vision. Thank you. Thank you. So in this very first moment, when you have this hydrogen in a little bit of helium, and by the way, you all need, if you love this, you all need a book on rocks and the periodic table, right? If you love it, you have one? Yes, you have one. Very, very good. So hydrogen, one proton and one electron, and not only hydrogen, but remember, when you say hydrogen, you are talking about the ideal element in the structure of an atom. You're not describing nature. Nature is not hydrogen. Hydrogen is an isotope. This is what we have in nature. There are 118 elements, but there are 2,000 and so many isotopes. That's what nature is. Isotope. When you study these, study elements, this is the ideal form of that, in that atomic structure, but you're looking at isotopes because this is what reality is. So scientists describe, because they have ways to measure this and all that, they describe the first moment with hydrogen and helium and a little bit of the number 3, lithium. Excuse me, when you get the hydrogen and gravity is still pulling in, right? You have now electromagnetism shooting light and energy and radiation out of there. You have the weak force, now trying to appear and tell the nucleus what to do, how to behave. You have the strong force putting all that together down there. And then you have something really magical. A star shows up. Hydrogen, massive amount of hydrogen. This is what the scientist says appears in that moment. And that pull, that gravity pull, that's how they describe it for now, Paula, we will understand. This gravity pull is going to build something in that nucleus, in that core, that is hydrogen-based, and fusion stars, and a tremendous power in that star appears, and in that moment, fusion start binding hydrogen into helium and so on, and it's burning and burning and burning and fusing. So what is the process? 2 hydrogen for 1 helium. But when you do the math, there is more mass than that. The loss of mass is energy, that's electromagnetism. You have these fires going all the way, lights going all the way. What happened in that star is start forming more, by fusion, more elements. And it goes to them, carbon and nitrogen and oxygen, they all show up. Depending on the amount of the size of the star, that means the amount of the core, the hydrogen core, in this nebula that it condenses, and then it forms a solar system. We're number 5 here. In that moment, that star, if it's very small, it stops at carbon, no more than carbon shows up, and it just dies, and it collapses, fractures, and whatever it does. But if it's more impressive happens, which is it fuses, this is a theory, it fuses all these elements that it has all the way to an isotope of iron, which is the number 26. It gets to the isotope with number 56 of mass, and it stops. And when that star stops in iron, it's an spectacle that is incredible in the universe. It collapses in itself and turns into a supernova. And in that force, in that energy, all the other elements are formed, all the way to 92, Uranus. Isn't that incredible? So all the elements that we have are forming that. If it's supermassive, it will continue going into a black hole. Isn't that beautiful? And in my opinion, this is my vision, I'm not going to copyright it, by the way. In my vision, a black hole at the end of the time, at the end of times, all these black holes are going to find themselves together in one big black hole and a new rest. It's going to swallow the whole universe, because that's what a black hole is, just attracts all that. And we're going to have one big black hole, and we're going to rest and for 7 eternities. Isn't that beautiful? Yes.
So,
I'm sorry. In the back, she hasn't spoken too much. Yes.
So I am thinking that entropy, you kind of look at it as randomness, maybe abstract space of potential.
Yes.
And then when Fohat, so even entropy, is it the potential of Fohat, or Fohat is its own unique kind of power, would you say?
Of course. But the mystery in science is that because they see gravity ruling, and we know it's not true as itself, the universe is expanding while gravity really should be pulling it together. You see that? So there is something there extra that allows that chaotic look. That chaotic look is what's happening behind things that we don't see.
Well, could that be Fohat? Maybe.
Fohat is everything that is the verb, is active. It's light and life and fire and energy and transformation. The result of all the is the verb, right? All the verbs, all the transformation, all that is Fohat.
But like Fohat at rest. Before Fohat is called in as the whirlwind and doing its business with manifestation is what you just spoke about, this diffuse stuff, kind of, or abstract. Cosmic matter,
pre-cosmic matter. So that's Fohat at rest. Right.
Pre-cosmic matter, and cosmic matter?
No, well, I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
So indeed, you go then, somehow there must be something goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you must have some process by which you swallow all that, and I think it's a big black hole. Let's give it a name. Big black hole, BBH, right? And then that happens. Fohat now is in Pralaya.
Okay.
Why? The idea is in Pralaya, the Johans are in Pralaya, everything in Pralaya. That movement, that spiral movement of the universe collapsing in itself in a big black hole is in the book of Revelation. A big dragon with its tail, getting all the tail, right? All the stars and gathering together and destroying the universe. That's the vision that I have. Isn't that beautiful? A big dragon, with a tail, taking all the stars and bring them in. That dragon is that humongous black hole. It's very beautiful. And in that moment, when we have the sun, a star there, of course, gravity brings in. At that moment, there are no planets, but then after those stars, they collapse and they explode and they jump into each other or collapses into each other, and they go in supernova, and et cetera, et cetera. Now you have more than hydrogen, helium floating in the universe. You have all the elements. So the second generation stars are carbon-based, mostly hydrogen. The next generation stars, they're all the way to uranium, 92. You see that? Stars are becoming heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's the nebula. A lot of dust, all the elements are there. And then gravity in the solar system, in our solar system, that star is forming the planets, collapsing them in gravity. And that is what we're going to study theosophically in the next hour. I mean, in the afternoon. Wow. Any questions? It's almost 12. We got to the point that we have to get to the planet because we are there. Yes.
So I'm just trying to pull this back to number 5 especially, because you're bringing the order of the universe, the elements, the isotopes, how things progress, and so this is this is governed by these immutable laws yes. of nature,
yes.
and which themselves are a manifestation of intelligence. So again, we're going back to this, the universal soul, this ultimate intelligence.
Yes.
So I think it's interesting how he continually ties, Blavatsky and the SD too, but he continually ties back to that.
Right. The beauty of the secret doctrine and theosophy and every mystical book is that they speak about this intelligence. They speak about the hierarchy of divine beings, celestial beings, right? Behind all this. And basically, the biggest one is the ones who contemplating the ideas. The universe is manifested. The laws of nature appears or manifest. There was one law. Now we have 7 laws, so to speak, right? The one element, now there are 7 elements. These are the alchemical Platonic elements. And then the process of multiplication happens. And to end this discussion, then the one element in pralaya, or in a state of or eternal state, turns into 7 in the first moment, and then turns into 49, still very invisible, and then turns into 343, and that's the limit of our physical universe. Of them, we have 118. So when we have the other 2 elements and a half manifested, ether and the other 2, we're going to complete that scheme that we can do ourselves in the periodic table if we want, all the way, to 343, but don't spend your time. We only have 118 and only up to 22. 94 is very important because they build nuclear bombs with them, plutonium. What is done in the lab, not in nature. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Anita, does HPV compare a black hole to a period of dissolution?
No.
Minor or major pralaya?
Okay, maybe I misspoke. Black hole is something very recent, so to speak, right? An observation in theory, it was found that is true, but what is true, right? So there is something that is behaving like that. What I said that I read in the Secret Doctrine, Eneida, is that Blavatsky said there are mysteries in the universe that we still, astronomers, don't have a clue what it is. And she describes this event and appears to be like a black hole. And now we know there are black holes. So it's very interesting. Yes, Pablo.
So HPV talks about the Laya centers, which is these centers where matter is in the undifferentiated state.
Right.
Which perhaps could be connected to a black hole, but according to her, matter comes out of the Laya center also. So I've been following the idea of the black holes, and more they find that black holes are spewing matter also. It's not just that they are absorbing. Right. They have seen a few of black holes that are spewing matter. So maybe those are the Laya centers.
Maybe. And that's a good point. And then, but remember, when we study Laya center, we need to get all the descriptions. Blavatsky also uses Laya center, that when one planet dies, it sends the 7 globes, it sends their life energy to a Laya center in the same location. So we haven't found Laya centers, black holes, next to planets yet. So maybe they are invisible, maybe they are not physically bound to the universe yet, to the solar system. But we need to add all these descriptions, not just that line that you said. So when we add them, we have a better picture of what a black hole is. And I'm pretty sure they're going to find in the future that there are black holes of the size of little ones and size of big ones, because Pralaya and Manvantara is a law of the universe. Everything goes periodical. So we must have Laya centers everywhere. And if Laya centers are like black holes, right, then we should find some aspect of the Laya hole, which is septenary, everywhere, everywhere. That's the future, and that's so exciting. But
there is a theory that they say that we are surrounded by small black holes, but they are so small that we don't detect their activity. Well, there is a scientific theory. Yeah.
Get out of here. This is a black hole, I guess. Excuse me. I do believe that, but we have to have the visions, the questions, the demonstration. For the scientists, it's a humongous. But first, it's a vision. They have a theory, and that's very beautiful. I do believe that too. Yes, Pablo. Sorry.
I can add something, maybe. The 1001 Night is a collection of stories that nobody claimed the author.
Okay.
They are unknown authors, but everybody contributed to that. The story of the universe, of the world. There are 17 volumes of the 1001 Nights.
I saw like 3 movies.
We know we have the translation for the British.
Okay.
And it's 200 pages.
Okay.
So that's what we know. Now, the theosophy is the accumulate knowledge of the ages. There are 1,200 pages in the secret book. Rose, Isis, and Ladies, the Voice of the Silence, theosophy, and all the books people wrote and continue writing about the secret book. So we can know, my point is, because my novel, my mind maybe is not very high IQ to be able to grasp all this deep knowledge.
Yes, you can. And let me tell you how, if I can. Instead of grasping everything that Blavatsky wrote, you look inside you and see what vibrates with you. And just devote yourself to those. Just one word touches you into that bridge from matter to spirit, from earth to heaven, and you can do it. Just one thing, a tree, a dog. Just look for something that is beautiful to you, that vibrates within you, and mystically be one with it. And everything will fall into it, because the deeper you go in, the more you are in the soul of the universe. And this is what theosophy is. You don't have to spend all this time to study the humongous corpus theosophical. You just go into that path to Alaya, and you know it all, so to speak. You see? So you can do it. You can do it. What you cannot possibly do is to study all the sciences and all the religions and all the hermetic books and all the theosophical. You cannot possibly. That is mind-boggling. But yet you and me and all of us can devote our life to what really strikes a note and start our real path. Yes.
This is we call add things we can say more. Like a very famous painter.
Yes.
They asked him, how much time took you to paint this and this? And he said, all my life.
Right.
It's
when it's good enough.
The secret doctrine is so much, but when we talk about the centenary principle, the Focha, monad.
Yes.
At the same time, we talk about many things.
Yes, yes.
My thing is right. You're right. Something vibrated with me.
Yes.
So I chose.
Remember, the material world is infinite.
Yeah.
And what we want is to go to the oneness. But when you go, when you are in the oneness, the infinite opens up, because you are in the soul of the universe in Alaya. It's everything. It's everywhere. So the deeper you are, the more expansive you are. So this is the path. So it's overwhelming, but the whole idea here is that you find who you are. What state of mind you are when you listen to this and it triggers something in you and you say, that's me. That's what I want to devote. I love this. I love, the Tibetan tankas. I want to immerse myself there in that Kala Chakra. I want to find myself. No, I like the Jungian formula in his ion as my way of go to the center and individualize myself. That's fine too. Etc., etc., etc. Everybody has a way, right? Theosophy has the voice of the silent. See, very little, right? Secret doctrine is big, right? But the voice is very little. So let's talk about the voice. So again, let's finish, and we'll continue more the exploration. And it's true. The physical universe is endless. Yes, we can get lost there, but that's not the point. That's misunderstanding this.
And to add something,
yes,
something more about the difficulty with the language.
Yes. Very fast, because we are in overtime.
1 minute.
Yes.
When Borges has the idea of the Aleph, when he started to express everything he said, he said in that point, he said, here started my struggle. How to put everything in words.
Yes.
So
that's our struggle.
Even if Blavatsky wrote the book, the words are very powerful, but you have to have a dictionary, you have to consult the other authors. You cannot get it by yourself, even if you look inside you, if you have an intuition.
No, but remember what Plato said. You got to learn the idea. The idea is intellectual in the beginning. You have to be a friend with it, knowing the name, knowing the description, knowing its function. That is all intellectual. That takes time and effort. But then you contemplate. Words disappear. There's no more words. The problem of Borges is he didn't go there. Or if he did, he should have known what Plato said. I will never write, I never wrote about my contemplation. Never. I only wrote about names, description, and function. Because he knew you can describe that. That is left to us. Never attempt to explain what beauty is. What is the idea of beauty? Have you ever tried? Impossible. What is justice? You can't. But yes, you can recognize it in your heart. That's the point. That is the mystery. Thank you, everybody. To continue. Thank you.